In 2020, a drone killed a man in Libya. No pilot, no remote operator with a joystick, no human being somewhere in a bunker saying, "Fire!" The machine decided. The machine acted. The man died. A UN report later confirmed it. And then the world mostly moved on. Fast forward to 2025, 70 countries marched into the United Nations and essentially said, "We need to talk." They want a global treaty, a hard legal line, a rule that says machines cannot be trusted with the final decision to end a human life. Also, and this is the part that should keep you up at night, possibly 5 years too late. If an AI drone kills a family hiding in a basement because its algorithm looked at the heat signatures and made a call, who goes to prison? The programmer? The general? The defense contractor? The politician who signed the budget? Take your time, think it through. Because 70 countries just walked into the United Nations with exactly that question, demanding a global treaty before the answer becomes nobody. And that's just how it works now. The uncomfortable part isn't the question. It's that we might already be past the point where the answer matters. Everyone calls them killer robots, which is exactly the wrong name for them because it makes you picture a Terminator, chrome skull, red eyes, Austrian accent, stomping through a battlefield. Something obviously monstrous, something you'd recognize as dangerous from 20 miles away. The real thing looks like a small commercial drone. It weighs about as much as a house cat. It costs less than a family vacation. And in 2020, one of them killed a man in Libya without a single human being making the call to fire. 70 countries want that banned. Here's why the ban might already be a day late and a battlefield short. Before we get to the part where everything gets deeply uncomfortable, let's get one thing clear. Nobody is arguing about whether AI should help militaries. That ship has sailed, docked, been refueled, and is already on its third voyage. AI already sorts drone footage, flags targets in satellite images, and helps commanders process intelligence faster than any human analyst ever could. Fine. Useful. Not the problem. The problem starts the moment you cross a very specific line. A line between AI that assists a human decision and AI that makes the decision itself. That's what lethal autonomous weapon systems are. Laws, for short. And yes, the acronym was either a coincidence or the most on-the-nose naming decision in military history. A fully autonomous weapon can detect a target, classify it as a valid military threat, and destroy it, start to finish, without a human pressing a single button. Now ask yourself the question that nobody in power wants to answer out loud. If an autonomous drone kills a family hiding in a basement because its algorithm classified them as combatants, who goes to prison? The programmer? The general who deployed it? The defense contractor who sold it? The politician who signed the budget? Nobody has a clean answer. And that's not an accident. Which brings us naturally to the people who showed up in New York to fix it. By 2025, a coalition called Stop Killer Robots had grown to over 270 NGOs across more than 70 nations. In May of that year, officials from 96 countries, the UN, the International Red Cross, and human rights organizations gathered at the UN General Assembly. They wanted a legally binding treaty, a clear prohibition, something with actual teeth. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres didn't mince words. He called autonomous weapons politically unacceptable and morally repugnant. He said machines that can take human lives without human control should be prohibited by international law. Strong words, powerful moment, standing ovation territory. And then you look at the list of countries that didn't enthusiastically join the push for immediate formal negotiations: the United States, Russia, China. The three countries that, between them, account for the majority of global autonomous weapons research, development, deployment, and crucially, export. They attended the meetings. They gave speeches about responsible AI. They used phrases like meaningful human control and appropriate oversight mechanisms. Beautiful phrases. Completely undefined phrases. Phrases that can mean whatever is convenient when the contract gets signed. It gets better or worse, depending on your relationship with irony. The UK, whose Prime Minister literally stood at the UN General Assembly in 2024 and warned about AI weapons being deployed without agreed rules, quietly declined to join a joint statement supporting formal negotiations. They did, however, lead a different joint statement, one designed to keep discussions locked inside a specific Geneva forum rather than moving toward actual progress anywhere. So to summarize, they showed up to warn about the problem, then blocked one of the solutions while praising the process. If that sounds like something a machine optimizing for the appearance of action while avoiding the cost of action would do, congratulations, you're paying attention. But here's what that diplomatic gridlock means in practice. While governments are carefully managing the optics of concern, the technology they're concerned about isn't waiting around for the paperwork. And that's where the story stops being about politics and starts being about what's actually happening on the ground. Ukraine, right now. The Bumblebee drone, an AI-powered weapon that continues its attack even after it loses contact with its operator. The human dropped out of the loop. The drone kept going, because that is precisely what it was designed to do. There's also the Gogol M, a $10,000 autonomous drone that functions as a mothership, commanding swarms of smaller attack drones. $10,000. That's roughly what a decent used car costs for a machine that can direct an autonomous attack without a single human instruction mid-flight. Russia is reportedly deploying AI-powered V2U combat drones designed to operate in coordinated swarms. The US is testing the Bullfrog autonomous anti-drone system. Israel used AI-assisted targeting in Gaza at a scale and speed that human decision-making alone, structurally, could not have maintained. These are not prototypes gathering dust in a research facility. These are operational, deployed, participating in real-world conflicts where real people are dying right now as the Geneva discussions continue. And here's the compounding problem, the detail that turns a concerning trend into a structural trap. Every time one of these systems is used successfully, meaning without a catastrophic, undeniable front-page massacre that gets pinned directly and unambiguously to an algorithm, the military that used it grows more confident. The defense contractor gets a bigger contract, and the definition of technically a human is in the loop gets slightly more creative, which leads us directly to the most dangerous phrase in the entire conversation. Who goes to prison? The answer in the current legal framework is essentially, figure it out yourself. International humanitarian law is built on the concept of a human chain of command. Someone ordered the strike. Someone approved the target. Someone can be held responsible. That chain is how war crimes prosecutions work. That chain is why the concept of accountability in armed conflict exists at all. Autonomous weapons don't have a chain. They have a process, a data set, a training objective, a deployment decision made months before the specific strike that killed the specific person. When responsibility is that diffuse, it doesn't just become harder to assign, it effectively disappears. Not because nobody made choices, plenty of people made choices, but because no single choice maps directly to the outcome. And modern legal systems struggle enormously with that kind of distributed causation. The 2025 analysis of autonomous weapons risks flagged this explicitly. Opaque AI models making lethal decisions create an accountability gap that existing international law was never designed to handle. Add to that another risk from the same analysis. AI systems are vulnerable to adversarial attacks. An enemy can feed false data into your autonomous weapons targeting system and turn your precision asset into a precision liability. The machine can be deceived in ways a human operator might catch, and when it is, no alarm goes off. The strike just happens. So not only does nobody go to prison, no one could even know what went wrong. The most dangerous phrase in the entire conversation is, a human is still in the loop. That phrase has done more to delay real regulation than any lobbying effort, any geopolitical obstruction, or any classified procurement decision. Because it sounds responsible. It sounds like there's a guardrail. But in the loop is doing enormous, unexamined work in that sentence. In the loop can mean a human reviews every targeting decision before the weapon fires. It can also mean a human set the mission parameters 6 hours ago before losing communications range. It can also mean a human technically has override capability, but the system is designed to operate faster than human reaction time, making override functionally impossible. Those are 3 completely different levels of human control, and they are all in the language currently being negotiated at the UN. That's the slope, and the grease is the military logic that every small step down it makes complete sense. Safer soldiers, faster decisions, reduced collateral damage, theoretically, better intelligence integration, more effective deterrence. Each step has a press release. Each step has a retired general on a panel explaining why this particular level of autonomy is actually more responsible than the previous one. And then, one day, the gap between AI-assisted human decision and human-approved AI decision is so small that distinguishing them requires a philosophy degree and access to classified systems documentation. That is the world the treaty is trying to prevent. That is also the world that is quietly assembling itself while the treaty is being negotiated. 70 countries tried to draw a line. The line is morally correct. The line is legally necessary. The line is the kind of thing that in 30 years we'll look back on and say, we should have held it. But technology doesn't negotiate. It doesn't wait for the next CCW session in Geneva. It doesn't care that formal treaty negotiations might not begin until 2027, by which time the battlefield would have moved so far past the current definition of autonomous that the treaty being negotiated will be regulating weapons that already feel vintage. The window is not closed. A meaningful treaty, one with real prohibitions, not soft guidelines dressed up as law, could still shape how this technology evolves. But here is the uncomfortable, unspinnable truth. The countries building the most powerful autonomous weapons are also the countries most capable of making or breaking any global agreement. And right now, their position is essentially, we'll agree to talk about talking, as long as talking never gets in the way of building. In Libya in 2020, a machine made a kill decision and nobody was held responsible. In 2026, the world is still arguing about what the rules should be. On the ground, in active conflicts, the answer is already being written, not in treaty language, but in targeting code. The question isn't whether AI will be trusted with the trigger. The question is whether anyone will notice the moment it already was.